What's a effed up fact you just can't believe is true? You're statistically more likely to be murdered by a family member on Christmas Day than murdered by a stranger any other day. Edit. I don't have a source, it's just something that seems about right. TBH. Putting a bunch of people together on a really intense occasion will create some friction and you never know who's at the point of murder. Also, I can totally see why murders would be more likely, judging by the comments below. Elephants can control their dick like a second trunk. I saw 2 elephants get it on in Berlin Zoo. The first startling thing was the prehensile penis finding its way in, just like a trunk. The second startling thing was all the other elephants running about and trumpeting in a big celebration of the act. All of them. Kids, adults, like a big duck party. Way hey. They're doing it. There's even a term for it, mating pandemonium. True story. Huh. Who knew? NSFW if you were an elephant. Watching that was surreal, made me wonder how the dinosaurs ducked. During World War II, Japan bombed China with fleas infected with the bubonic plague. Let's not forget their initial defense plan of 10,000 suicide vehicles of various types. If that didn't work, it was expected that all 100 million of the Japanese people swarm invading forces and give their life for Japan in an attempt to dissuade the American public from continuing the war. In the 1980s, the Bayer Corporation sold a hemophilia drug that was made from processed donated human blood. In the early days of the AIDS epidemic, it was discovered that the product was contaminated with HIV. They were forced to take it off the shelves in America and Europe. Bayer decided there had been too much financial investment in the product, and rather than destroy the inventory, they sold it in Latin American and Asian countries instead. They even continued to produce it for a few months until their supplies ran out. There's no way to know how many people were infected with HIV as a result, but at a bare minimum it had to have been in the thousands, plus however many those people may have unknowingly infected in turn, and so on. In the 1980s, when AIDS was pretty much a guaranteed death sentence, Bayer knowingly killed probably tens of thousands of people and no one went to jail. $600 million settlement. Edit, just a clarification, this treatment was not a dry pill that you swallow. That would be pretty unlikely to transmit HIV, as some people have said. It was basically taking blood and removing the rejectable parts and concentrating clotting factors and injecting that into hemophiliacs. In terms of HIV risk, it was basically a blood transfusion. Bayer, IG Farben, also was a huge part of Auschwitz and the production of the camps. Jewish slave labor was used by them to produce pharmaceuticals, and they killed thousands by infecting them with diseases to test medications and exposing them to new chemical compounds to test the effects. People talk about Japan's Unit 731. But the same type of thing existed in Germany, but the organizers got to keep a successful company after the war. Helmut Vetter was literally getting a paycheck from Bayer while he worked at Auschwitz. The same company also had a massive presence at Dachau, Gusen, and Buchenwald, so this wasn't a one-off thing but a massive organized effort. That sharks have been around longer than trees. Yes, trees. One that I personally think is more interesting is that sharks are older than Saturn's rings. The youngest person to ever give birth was 5 years old. And she's still alive and outlived the son she gave birth to. Oh, great, it keeps on getting more tragic. One of the more famous politicians here in Hungary got a suspended jail sentence and a little financial penalty for the possession of more than 19,000 pedophilic photographs. He got away with it just like that. Who TF let that happen? Edit, the name's Kaladigbur. I wasn't trying to hide his identity, I just figured people would find him on Google anyway from the information I've given. But yeah, he does have a name. That's it. Who TF let that happen? Other pedos. In the beginning, DuPont ducked up their nonstick Teflon pans. They knew high exposure to TGE stuff was bad, but they never did anything about it. As a result, traces of forever chemicals can be found in 98% of the American population, and probably beyond. The movie Dark Waters describes the whole thing very well. At the end of the movie they say traces of PFOA can be found in virtually every living creature on the planet, including 99% of humans. There is also another doc on the subject called The Devil We Know. It goes back to the town where DuPont started in and all the livestock dying and babies born with birth defects and such. Pretty disturbing stuff. You're statistically more likely to randomly die during a USA Powerball lottery drawing than win it. My great-uncle won the Powerball and died of a heart attack not long after. Your family must have been inconsolable. Humans are pretty slow runners compared to other races, but we are the best throwers on the planet. No other species can throw stuff like we do. This is why, in case of danger, throwing things in the direction of an hostile animal may scare the shit out of it. Being able to kill from a distance is a huge evolutionary advantage. Ranged attacks are op. JFK's convertible wasn't scrapped after he got shot in 1963. A roof was welded on and it was used by Presidents Johnson, Nixon, Ford and Carter, right through to 1977. It is at the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit. thehenryford.org. Edit, Form Ford Edit 2, I wound up renewing my membership. It is a good value at $125 for 2 people. Some tumors can grow teeth and hair. You don't want to Google that. Edit, it's called a teratoma. Edit, looks like it can also grow eyes non-functioning, muscles, bones and even some brain cells. I'm hopeful that with enough studying, we could basically grow unlimited teeth for people in the future. Teeth in the right place, that is. How horribly the Amish treat animals. They run some of the largest puppy mills in the US. My wife and I started a horse rescue. 80% come from Amish country and they are treated horrifically. Every single one we get is at death's door from years of being overworked while abused and neglected. We've made breakthroughs on a few, but most are irreversibly scarred and we give them sanctuary for the last few years of life. Thanks to you and your wife for doing that. This is the first I'm reading about their treatment of animals, and obviously kind people like you are very needed. Dogs like squeaky toys because they remind them of a small animal being killed. Which is why you probably shouldn't be frustrated that they kill them. That's like the whole point. I grew up Africa. Edit, Zambia. When we were 5 we were told not to swim in dirty water because of bilharzia, schistosomiasis, microscopic worms that burrow into your skin or enter up your urinary tract and then lays eggs inside your body. When I learned about bilharzia at university, there was a case study about a remote village in Africa who had requested help figuring out this common health problem. So a group of doctors and scientists actually traveled there and stayed with them for a week or 2. They're determined, A, that it was in fact bilharzia, that they got it from swimming in a local lake, so they treated basically the whole village and explained that it came from the water in the lake, because it's contaminated with human waste. They advised them not to swim in the water and to boil it prior to use. Okay, thank you for reading till now, and here is the kicker. A year later, some of the team returned to the village to conduct a case study. There were again lots of sick people. Upon visiting the lake, they found kids swimming and people washing clothes. And they saw a sign, hammered into the ground that read, "Do not piss in the water, sorry, phonormatting." I think this just about sums up humanity. Sexual intercourse with a horse is still legal in some American states. I read this is still illegal and for a second thought you were part of a horse ducking movement. Listen, the heart wants what the heart wants, and I don't appreciate being discriminated against simply because I love having my colon jammed into my stomach and lungs. Dolphins will bite the heads off of smaller fish and use the corpses as a makeshift fleshlight to get off. Edit, thanks for the awards? Why can't we all be more like animals and just duck each other? A fishlight, if you will. I will not. Some random dude in Soviet Russia saved the entire world from nuclear annihilation on a hunch the incoming missile warning was wrong. Edit, his name was Stanislav Petrov, n.m.wikipedia.org. An educated hunch, because he only saw 4 intercontinental atomic missiles approaching, out of the hundreds the USA had at the time. You are more likely to be bitten by a New Yorker than a shark. Imagine going scuba diving and out of nowhere a big-ass New Yorker swims up and bites you. Terrifying. I'm swimming here. Chainsaws were invented to cut through the pelvic bone to help women give birth. To be fair, they were smaller, more precise chainsaws than we use today to cut down trees. The second most expensive house and one of the biggest slums of the world are in the same city. Antilia, $1 billion, is owned by India's richest man, Mukesh Ambani, and Dharavi, one of the biggest slums, both in the city of Mumbai. Oh, and Antilia is second to Buckingham Palace, $2.9 billion. Funny thing, in Romanian, Ambani literally translates as I have money. The contrast is staggering too, one of the richest humans next to some of the poorest.